So hi everybody, my name's Joanna Mulgrew and I'm the Operations Director at HBXL Building Software. And today our Power Hour is a good one. It's all about focusing on promoting your business to homeowners. And I've got two really special guests today with us. I've got Sally Pitt, who is our marketing and communications guru of Say Something Now, and Simon Lazarus of the Better Business Group. And they are specialist mentors and business coaches to building firms in the UK. And they specialise in smaller to medium-sized firms, helping them improve their businesses. Let me get you to introduce yourself. So Sally, perhaps first you could introduce what you do.
Okay, yes. So I've worked in advertising and communications for many, many years. TV, radio, press, print, social media, and so on. And I've been working with builders across the UK for almost as many years. And I'm very much aware that self-promotion is something that builders find quite difficult to tackle. So I'm particularly looking forward to getting stuck into this conversation and seeing how we can help them.
Cool. And Simon, from your side, where do you fit into to things?
Yeah, well, for my sins, I've been mentoring builders for about 30 years now. The Better Business Group been running for 25 years, more than 25 years. We were the first company in Europe to do continual monitoring systems for builders. Lots of people have copied bits of what we do, but nobody does it in the depth that we do. So we do ratings on builders. We work with them on every inquiry they get. We help them win more jobs. We help them charge more money, and we give them leads for work as well. Yeah. So we have a really good understanding. We've spoken to hundreds of thousands of potential customers. I've spoken to tens of thousands of builders. So we have a really good understanding of the marketplace and what makes people successful.
Okay, so I'm sure lots of builders listening are going to be thinking, well, I'm already promoting my business, in my own way, and it's been working pretty well. And I guess some of them might be thinking, well, I get a lot of referrals, so I'm doing really well. My leads are all referrals. But I think we've got some interesting perspectives on things today. And I guess it's about driving not only the volume of leads, but it's the right leads, the quality leads, the profitable leads that we want to talk about today. And that might mean not focusing on the leads, the types of leads rather that you traditionally go after. We're offering this Power Hour, this session today as part of our Planet Boss It campaign to help builders succeed, and especially during the kind of COVID crisis, helping builders reevaluate their businesses and how they do things. So we've got loads to talk about. So we've divided today's session into two sections. So that's firstly about getting your business noticed by the right kind of client. And I guess the second part is more about self-promotion. So that's you've got in front of the right client. How on earth you win them once you've got your foot in the door? How do you not put them off very quickly? And there's some things that people do very easily to inadvertently put off, potential clients. So we want to talk about that today. Some of these are all very obvious when you hear about them, but we all do things that we're not aware of. So it's good to kind of review some of the basics. So we're going to go through loads of tips today during the next hour, and how to get your hands on quality, profitable leads and clients. Lots to discuss. So I'm going to bring in Simon first, if that's all right. So I'm putting you on the spot. Perhaps okay. you could explain who the ideal client is. I know you've worked with thousands of homeowners. You've already explained that on behalf of the building companies that you work for. So you know who the viewers today should be pitching to. So over to you.
Okay, well, there's probably two main categories of clients they're looking for. The biggest category by far is anybody that's previously used a problem builder or a cowboy builder, or who knows somebody that has, and there's plenty of them out there. Often these clients are now in a nicer property second time round. They've got money. They're determined not to make the same mistake that they made previously by choosing the wrong builder. They're desperate actually to find a trustworthy, reliable builder, and they can't thank us enough for putting them in touch with them often, and they will pay a premium to find them. Nobody wants to have a bad experience with a builder. The trouble is these other builders are really good at point of sale, and there's very often very little to differentiate the good guys from the bad guys from the customer's point of view. And that's what we're going to be talking about a lot more in detail coming on. I suppose the second category is basically business professionals. These people, they understand project management, they understand admin processes, they understand the need for contracts and paperwork. They pride themselves on attention to detail themselves. They expect a high level of customer service during the quoting process and very high building standards during out the process of the building work. So again, they're more interested in a firm they can trust than a cheap one. And consequently, those are the guys that will pay a premium price to get the right builder. I suppose the third thing that people need to consider is they need to look at the types and values of work they're confident in doing and not step too far outside their comfort zone. What they want to do is grow organically from the jobs they've done previously and not go from kitchens and bathrooms and single story extensions up to doing new builds in one step. They need to move organically so they know how to cost the jobs properly and how to manage these sites properly so that everybody has a good outcome and they make money at the end of the day. They're the main categories, I think.
Okay, so I think what you're saying there is that you need to kind of map where you want to be and then take steps to get to the absolute right client. Because if you make too big a leap in the first instance, you could set yourself up for a fall, I guess, for multiple.
It's not going to end well, is it? And the building game is not about doing loads of jobs at low margin. It's about working for the right customer with the right builder for the right money, and then everybody has a good outcome. And to do that, you need to be focused on what you want to do. You can't spread yourself thin. It's a big problem with most of the builders I talk to. They're getting their leads off the websites, the lead generation websites. They're normally of fairly poor quality. They need to do volume at small margins to make a living out of it. They're not really running professional businesses and making serious business for the profit. They're making a wage and a bit over, but not what they should be working for the time and effort they put into their businesses by a long shot. The building game is not an easy game. A lot of my builders are working 6 or 7 days a week. Certainly when they join me, all hours of day and night, I routinely get quotes coming through in the middle of the morning. 2, 3 o'clock in the morning is not unusual to get copy quotes coming from people that are working out manually, not using software like yours. So it's a really hard game and they need to be focused. And now's the perfect opportunity to restart the business at a different level. They've got a perfect opportunity now. So this is absolutely critical timing now. Have a good look at the business, forget where you have been, who you've been working for, where do you want to be in 5 or 10 years' time, what sort of clients and jobs do you want to be doing, what sort of profit margins do you want to be making, what are your expectations for your pension and your future, not just working day to day and week to week for a wage.
Okay, so without kind of trying to oversell your services, what you do then is help the builder kind of plan for this next period and work in steps as to how to get there, how to get to the aspirational projects. So it's no longer an aspiration. It's business as usual.
Most important thing to do, Joe, actually, is find out where they really are in the marketplace now. Most of them are totally the wrong impression of where they are price-wise in the marketplace. Most people, if I ask them where they are price-wise, tell me they're middle to top. And then I get the surveys back, and 9 out of 10 of the customers told me that they use them because they were recommended and they were cheap. So there's this huge disparity between where builders think they are in the marketplace and where they really are. Okay. And certainly, if they're working from home or working on the tools themselves, they're probably not charging the right money for the jobs. They're putting a small margin on their costs. They're not charging the value of the job compared to other builders that might be 5 or 10 years more established with offices and staff. Their overheads are much higher. They have to charge a much higher price to maintain the profit at the end of the day. They're still winning jobs. They're still in business. So clients are prepared to pay that premium. But if the cheaper builder doesn't look as comprehensive and as trustworthy and as reliable, they won't pay that premium price for them. So it's very much about finding where they are and then building on where they are to get to where they need to be.
So they actually look comparatively cheap then, which in itself, if for the right client, the premium client, you don't necessarily want cheap. You want, obviously everybody wants good value, but you don't want cheap. So because your overheads are less and you're pricing less to, seemingly win that work, you're kind of setting yourself at a disadvantage there because you're
making yourself attracted to the wrong customer.
Yeah.
You're making yourself attracted to people that don't want to pay the right money for the job. And it's a disadvantage when it comes to the right clients who want a really good professional builder to do their work. They've got money. They're not concerned, to be honest, about 5 or 10 grand on a 100 grand job. They want somebody who's going to do it on time, right first time. They can go abroad and leave them with the keys and come back and have the house done.
Yeah.
You know, those are the sort of clients the guys want to work for.
Yeah.
But it's a different marketplace altogether, and hopefully we'll go through a lot of the things that builders need to do to make themselves attractive to those.
So that leads us, I guess, to the kind of the main obstacles then, if any, for our listeners, our viewers today. You know, going after these clients. So you know, perhaps talk about what other people are doing. Perhaps the cowboy builder and what they're up against with them. What are they doing?
Okay, well, undoubtedly, there's huge amounts of cheap quotes out there. It's always common to find some idiot quoting below the cost of materials. Everyone watching this will know they've come across them. And now it's worse than ever before. This COVID business, all the cash merchants, the problem builders that are below the radar, they haven't been able to show any track record of profits. They've got no way of getting any government help or assistance under any of these bounce back schemes or whatever. So they're desperate for money. And routinely now, I'm getting really cheap prices. One of my builders quoted £168,000 on a job last week. The client got a quote for under 80,000. It just can't be done without a shadow of a doubt. But that guy's really convincing at point of sale. He's got to be. He's desperate for the money. One of my guys quoted £18,500 on a job. The client got a quote for under 8,000. So there's ridiculously cheap prices out there, and none of these jobs can be done for the money they're quoting for. But by the time the customer finds out they made a mistake, my good builders have lost the job. Yeah. So yes, that's a massive problem. So the builder's job is to prove they're worth a difference. Okay, you can't outsell these guys at point of sale. They're really good. They never get a second job. They never get a recommendation. Often they don't even finish the first job. So they're much, much better. And all their expertise is in convincing people that don't know them to use them and pay a huge deposit day one. It amazes me. Some of these guys get 30 or 40 grand cash as a deposit before they even start the job. Cash. I thought those days were long gone, but routinely every month I get somebody phoning up saying, I've had a real problem with this builder. I've given him all this money. I've never seen him again. He's put a pile of bricks on my site and run away. Have you got something to come and finish the job off? You know, but they've got no money left to do the job properly now. Yes. So that's a real problem. So these guys that are cheap, they look and sound better than most. They've got great websites. They've got smart vans. They've got loads of false references on all the rating websites. That's really easy to do. They've got mates with nice houses that they can show people around and tell them they did the job. So all of this is a complete false scenario. All their websites are stock photos. They're not genuine photos of the job. They're also very proactive in following up with clients, which often a lot of good builders are very lax in doing because they're busy on the sites or they're embarrassed to do it. So they're cheap. People are very tempted to use them. So that's probably the biggest category. The second category of competitors that these builders will come up against is probably builders very similar to themselves. They're good, reputable builders. They're surviving on their reputation for quality. They're working largely on recommendations from previous clients. The difference between the builders watching this today and those builders is probably quite small. So to win those jobs is all about attention to detail, and hopefully we'll go over a bit more of that later on as well.
So I guess what's the builder's starting point then? Because it sounds like it sounds almost hopeless. There's all these charming cowboy builders potentially out there. They're going in with silly prices. They've got the good website. What on earth then does this good builder listening to this today? Where does he start? What's the starting point for changing his business?
Well, the first thing he needs to use you, actually. The biggest difference between the cowboys and professional builders is the cowboys want to give a 1 or 2 page quote with no detailing, so they can deem everything to be extra once they start the job. Yeah. If they use your software, they get a 15 or 20 page quote detailing every nut, bolt and screw. There's no wiggle room for the customer to try and con the builder and telling him all the downlighters should be gold plated or whatever. There's no wiggle room for the builder to come back and ask for more money. So they can show straight away that they have a really good understanding of the business. Their quote looks brilliant. It's very detailed. They get it quicker than the cheaper guy's quote. And you're showing that you're upfront and honest about everything. It's a major starting point, I think. And then it follows from then on. I mean, we've got some sections later to go through all this, so I probably don't want to preempt that. Okay. There's another reason as well that builders are held back from doing the right sort of jobs, and that's themselves actually. It's their own self-doubt about the size and the complexity of the job and whether they can actually cost it properly and do it properly. or manage the site effectively. So that's why I think builders need to grow organically and not take a huge leap of faith because it looks like a nice, attractive, profitable job, and then they do it. They're on the job for 6 months, find they've made no money or lost money, and that's completely screwed their whole year's worth of figures. So those are the 3 main areas.
Okay. So recapping this far, then I guess it's planning. Number one, it is definitely a lot about the planning. It's what do you want the business to look like. It's what is that, what is the ideal client that you want to move towards, then planning the kind of transitional steps for the business to get to that point in terms of the types of projects and the value of the projects and the durations of those projects, and working with you then to help qualify those leads and win that business with a good quote, with a detailed professional quotation. So
there's no magic bullets here to making this transition. The fundamentals now are more important than ever before. If the builders do all the little things right, the others get knocked out instead of them, leaving them in the final shortlist. It's not unusual now for clients to get 5, 6, or even 7 quotes, but they don't want to talk to 7 builders ongoing. They want to knock it down to 2. So they're looking for reasons to knock people out. So the first thing that builders need to do is to actually understand their marketplace. They need to take a step back and look at the whole of the market, not just the small little bubble that they're in currently with their circle of recommends. Recommends are great because you're more likely to get the job, you're a known quantity, you're less likely to be knocked. The disadvantage is they want to know what the previous person paid, and you're working within a recommendation at a certain level of business. So if you built up a client base doing single and double story extensions, you're not really getting inquiries from people with major works, new builds and so on, because you haven't had that experience with them before. So it's a bit of a catch-22. But so you need to look outside that current bubble that you're working in. Good clients always realise that you get what you pay for. That's why good builders are always in demand. So you need to look at your existing customer base. How did you get it? If they're working recommend to recommend, they're probably undercharging by a good 20%, because along with the recommend, when they recommend the builder, they tell them what they paid. And that goes from the previous person to the previous person to the previous person. It will go on to the next person. So routinely we see people that think they've got a really nice business, they've got a full diary. And when we check on the customers, as I said previously, the majority of people say they use them because they're recommended and cheap. They haven't been able to put their prices up in line with cost inflation. And if they suddenly put 20% on their price, people want to know why you've changed your business all of a sudden and why you're a different sort of price to the one that their friends or their mothers used a few years ago. So you need to get new inquiries coming in that haven't got this price history with you. That enables you to change your marketplace.
Yeah.
The other thing they need to look at is, where is their expertise? What is their comfort zone? And not only in terms of the type of work they do, but in the value of the work. So they need to really understand where their experience and expertise is, so they can grow on that. They need to decide where they want to be in the marketplace. And by that I mean, again, type and value of work and where they pitch their price. I'm not going to say top, middle or bottom, because it should never be bottom. But are they very top? Are they middle top? Or are they middle? And they need to then work out a plan to get there. The first thing they need to do is stop going after low-paid work. They've got to resist the temptation to work to keep the diary full at any cost. It's a major problem in the industry. All it's doing in reality is it's keeping their suppliers and their subbies very happy. It's doing nothing to progress their business. Quite the reverse, actually. It's holding them back from where they need to be. And often they can lose out on a highly profitable business because they've got their diary booked and they can't do it in the timescale the client wants. Even if they win those jobs, all they're doing is they're building low margin business in for the future through further recommendations from that client. So those are the things I think, those 6 things.
Okay, so I guess it's going to come down to the I guess our part 2 of this session about promoting your business more widely, so that you are getting in a different type of lead. I think most builders would be very proud of the recommendations that they get. I think that they would be patting themselves on the back. If 80-90% of their work came from recommendations, they would think that they were doing very well, and we would congratulate them on that. But there is that caveat that you're saying. It's interesting to hear that you're getting a like for like. So if you're trying to kind of re-establish your business and change direction or just enhance what you do, those aren't the right, those recommends today aren't going to serve you right.
it's impossible for these builders to be independent of themselves. They go very much on what the client tells them. Nobody's going to tell them that was brilliant, that was a lot cheaper than I thought it was going to be. When can you start? Whatever price they put in, they're going to try and negotiate it down and tell them they're expensive. So all the builder hears, price, 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 price.
Yeah.
And they think they're successful when they're in business and they're earning wages.
Yeah.
You've got to take a step back from that and look at the whole marketplace and where they want to be. Undoubtedly, they could all be charging more than they are now.
Yeah.
I've probably spoken to 10 or 15,000 builders personally over the years. I met probably a handful, certainly less than 10, that were really, really charging what they were worth.
Yeah.
Most of them aren't. And invariably, the client's getting a much better deal out of the builder than they are getting out of them in the way of profit.
Yeah.
And that's why they recommend it so highly.
Okay.
All right. So
it's about
big world
mindset.
out there.
We've got to change our mind. We've got to change our mindset. Number one, that's obviously quite a challenge, and I guess that's why your business exists, Simon. And being quite honest, it's about helping them change the business mindset, and then I guess differentiating themselves.
Absolutely.
Which is our next conversation piece, I guess, creating the right impression to get those right profitable clients. Perhaps I can move to kind of Sally on that, Simon, unless there's anything you want to kind of interject on that.
No. I think the most important thing to do now is to understand really truly where their business is. You can't move the business forward if you don't understand why you're winning and losing jobs. And often these builders, they're very busy at a certain level in the marketplace. They've probably had inquiries from better customers, but they haven't gone with them because the customer doesn't perceive them as being right for them. So they're probably talking to these people already to a large part, but losing out, and that client will only tell them they didn't go with them because of price, but it wasn't a true reason.
Yes. Well, as you said a couple of minutes ago, no one is ever going to say, "I'm so delighted that you're cheap," and they're always going to beat up the builder. So switching focus somewhat then to attracting the right client, the right target client. So we're going to get all marketing on our viewers. So we've discussed, Sally, that the right kind of customer is more interested in the firm that they can trust than a cheap one. Certainly in terms of the profitable work, and that means demonstrating your trustworthiness and differentiating yourself. And I think on a practical level, you're going to need to know how to shout about your credentials. Your normal kind of reach and standing out. With you.
I think, and that's the hard part, shouting about yourself. I've, as I say, I've spoken to many builders, in builders merchants at shows, exhibitions, on site, over the phone, done lots of interviews. And self-promotion doesn't come easily, understandably so, to builders. So once they've established that mindset that Simon's been talking about, where, once they know where they want to be and who they want to attract, they then need to sort of demonstrate the necessary skills, the quality of their workmanship, their whole professionalism. And so that's really, what we want to talk about now. And since you can't take prospective homeowners and see you in action on site, you have to demonstrate it in other ways. And then on top of that, it's, how do you stand out from your competitors? And in short, you just have to do it better than them, and it's not going to happen overnight. Simon's already said there's no magic bullet. This is going to take time, but if you start planning now, which is very much the theme of HB Excel's campaign at the moment, if you start planning now, you'll start seeing the results sooner. And I've got a number of suggestions, Joe, of how you can make that happen. It is quite a long list, but if you're happy for us to talk through those, and go for it. I'm sure they're very, very practical tips that are going to sound straightforward, and they are. Everyone can do it, but perhaps people aren't. Some of it comes down to time, but maybe the builder might need to get somebody involved. I don't know whether it's a family member or exactly, Joe. I mean, as you say, some of them might seem obvious, but it's just putting those in place one thing at a time. And throughout, this this chat, you'll realize it is just those little things that can, you know, make a difference. So starting even with your identity, your you know, your brand, if you like, and how you present yourself. So that could be a new logo, a graphic, an icon, even just looking at you know, the typeface that you use to present yourself. And you know, perhaps there is a family member, you know, has a flair for that. Perhaps you can look on Facebook and see who's out there. It doesn't have to be expensive just to create an identity that makes you look more professional. So that's, if you like, your starting point. And then your email address. Now that might seem really, really obvious, but I know it's a big bugbear of Simon, you know, having chatted with Simon over the years on this subject. I mean, it seems extraordinary to think that that could make a difference, but, you know, believe me, you know, it's the sort of thing that a homeowner, a professional business person would look at. So what I mean by that is, I don't know, John Smith at yahoo.co.uk or John Smith at hotmail.com just isn't going to cut it with these people. You know, it's just not professional enough. You're looking like it's a hobby, it's a sideline. So your competitors who are getting the work that you want, you know, John Smith and builders.co.uk, that, you know, in itself is making a difference. I mean, it does mean, you know, going online, looking at companies that provide the URL that you're looking for, but it's straightforward enough. And as Joe said, you know, if you're really setting your heart on, you know, making a difference and upping your game, upping your profile, if you can get the help of a family member, a friend who is a little bit more experienced in it, then you know, then go for it. But you can do it. So those are two sort of really basic.
Can I interject on that, actually?
Yeah.
So one thing I was thinking is we, you know, HBXL are a software company, and we get lots of inquiries from companies looking at software for, you know, various solutions. I won't talk about those today because it's not about us; it's about the builder. But one thing I would say is when we see the inquiries coming in where people are looking to move their business forward. Say they're looking at estimating software to improve how they quote and go after slightly bigger jobs that they're perhaps less experienced with. You know, so-and-so Joinery and Sons might be an inquiry that comes through. And you think to yourself, oh, well, our software is for kind of extensions, renovations, loft conversion, new homes. Why is a joinery company looking at the software?
Okay.
And they perhaps did start out as a joinery company, that, you know, carpentry, you know, what have you, and very good at what they do. But the company name is now kind of no longer relevant to what they're doing today. They're not going to attract the right companies. So if you go to their website, so Joinery and Co., and you're suddenly saying, oh, we do, you know, new build, it's like, oh, I don't quite, you know, they don't.
That's a very good point.
You know, link up in the visitor's mind. Website.
Can I just butt in there as well?
Yeah.
I have people joining me, so-and-so landscaping and building, or so-and-so carpentry and building. And I say, what you're doing is make yourself attractive to the carpentry work. Your image should portray the biggest and most complicated sort of work you want to do. If you do building and new builds and extensions, you can do a bit of carpentry. You've got a carpentry subcontractor, so it's taken as a given. But they won't usually the other way around. I have had companies I've taken on that really wouldn't change their company names. I've given them big jobs, and nobody wanted to use them. They didn't feel that they were the right people for them.
Yeah.
It's all about, everything about you has got to be just right for the client. And these are major disadvantages. There's no reason to do it that way. Even if you've got expertise in carpentry, you can say you've got a carpentry division as part of your building company, you know, and that will sound even better. So yeah, it's absolutely crucial.
So I think obviously we're not talking about starting up a new business. What we're talking about is making a change of name to and submitting that to Companies House. So you've got the trading history and track record and all of that, but you've got a change of name which represents the building work that you now want to do, and then that will obviously link back to your website name, your domain name, and then your email. So you're so and so now. Jones Design and Build or Jones Extension.
I've got a guy that was really big in loft conversion, does about 60 to 80 a year. But now people don't just want a loft, they want building, they want an extension and a refurb as well as a loft. So he's doing a lot of building work. He was losing quite a lot of my inquiries I gave him because they didn't think he would be able to do the building work as well as the lofts. So he set up a separate trading name as the loft company now. He's changed his full company name over to a building development company. He's
Yeah.
got a separate subdivision for lofts. And at the bottom left, it just says it's a trading name of.
Yeah.
So you don't even change your trading name. You can have a separate image within the company name for that type of work.
No, good point. But it's all these things join up, don't they? And they're all small, subtle things, but just starting with, what is your name? What does it portray?
Yes, yeah. And if you get those right, you know, I mean, that is the fundamental. You've got to start at that point. And on your website, and we'll come on to that, you know, if you can talk about the services, excuse me, that you provide, you know, as Simon says, so you can say that, you know, extensions and renovations, new builds, lofts and so on. But you need to, if we're talking about thinking big here, and, you know, moving on upwards, you know, you need to think about that. And then that, I mean, if I sort of can carry on from there, that carries on with like your email signature. So your letterheads, how you present yourself within your email, the messaging at the bottom, you know, the smart logo, the sort of a subline about the services that you provide. From, you know, day one, you're starting to sow the seed for the potential customer to think, yes, they know what they're doing. The biggest thing, obviously, is the website. You know, everyone should have a website, really. Certainly, if you're looking at the market that we're looking at, you know, otherwise you're talking a Facebook page, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But the website is your storefront, it's your shop window on your business, and that's where, you know, all the good work happens. Again, go online to have a look at where you can get help with building websites. There's templates, and I believe at the end you'll be given a link to a page on HBXL's website which gives some advice on how you can make that happen. So rather than go into the ins and outs of building your website, as far as the content is concerned, this is really where you demonstrate your you know, professionalism, you know, and it's little things, even your insurance details, your affiliations, your credit rating. I mean, Simon, I mean, this is something that you come up against an awful lot, I believe, isn't it?
Absolutely. One of the major ways we get our builders work is for the customers free background checks on the cheaper builders that are quoting against them. And about 90% of those are seriously detrimental. Trouble with the building game is nobody wants to pay any tax and post a profit, but it does come around to bite you. Increasingly now, the customers will check you out a company's house before they decide whether to use you or not. Having a good credit rating and showing an increase in profit every year, that gives confidence to the good customers that you're running a professional business, that you're successful, people are using you and they're paying you to do it and not ducking out halfway through the contract. If they don't like what they see at company's house, they're not going to have an argument with you about it. They're just going to tell you you're too expensive, without a shadow of a doubt. And I'll give you a perfect example, actually. It's fresh in my mind. Just a week or so ago, I gave a lead out to two of my builders. One of them quoted 260,000 plus VAT. One of them quoted 290,000 plus VAT. They had a quote from the architect's recommendation for 175,000 plus VAT. And the guy put a covering letter with his 2-page quote saying, look, I've had a big job cancelled on me. The guy's been made redundant. I was due to start it. I've had no work on for 4 months. I really need a job. I'm prepared to do your job for wages only, for me and my guys, and no profit at all for the business. The client copied me in on the email he sent back to him. He said, look, I really appreciate the fact I got on well with you. You know, I thought you were a nice guy. He said, but I've been caught before where the builder went bust on me halfway through the job. No way am I going through that hell again. And no way am I taking a chance, much as I'd like to and save the money. He went in my builder for 260,000 quid, £85,000 more than he could have gone with, and probably had a reasonable job done, to be honest with you. That's 50% more. So that shows you two things. It shows you that people are prepared to pay more if you can prove that you are the right builder for them. But it also shows you just how much in excess of your basic wages you can charge these customers and still win jobs. My 260 guy got it, but my 290,000 guy, you know, that's an extra 30 grand. He's a busier builder than my 260,000 guy. So there is no right price for these jobs. It's all about matching the right builder to the right customer for the right job.
Yeah.
This website stuff is very important as well. One of my guys last year lost a job for over £500,000. The client went through everything, loads of due diligence. He was going to use him. At the end of the day, he didn't use him. Because the last thing is he tried to check him out on the web and he didn't find his website. Now, you're not actually going to win many clients by having the website on its own. It's not going to, it will attract visitors to your website, but they're people that in the main are trawling. They're trawling over the web, they're trawling over the rating websites. They're looking for a range of people to quote to see what the right price is and so on. But when you're talking to the right customers, they want to see you're the perfect package. If you're missing these things, or you look like you're a hobby builder and you don't have a proper website, then they won't use you. Okay, so it is really important. All these little things, they're the things that add up to a picture of a guy that they feel confident. There's no detriment to you. If they find one thing's not quite right, very quickly you're out the running. They're looking to whittle it down 7 to 2 for the shortlist. If you haven't got a website, they probably don't think about it. They move on to the next one. So all these little things in themselves are, as you're saying, Sally, really, really important. Okay.
Just sorry.
You know, I mean, I can't emphasize enough, you know, the value of a website, and Simon's absolutely right. It's you know, it's one part of many things that you need to do. So anyone looking at the website, and interesting, we've been talking about sort of raising your profile. So you might not actually be where you want to be yet. So we've got this sort of dilemma here, really, of the work that you have been doing and the work that you would like to do. So it's trying to find the middle ground, and you know, you have to be careful with the photos that you use. I mean, Joe, I think you were saying you can't show sort of a civil engineering type project on your website if that's not
it just sends completely the wrong message. I think there's lots of different website help out there, by the way, in terms of building your website. But a mistake people make, I think, when using some of these online tools, is that they'll just go with some quick images that they're finding, you know, on the site. And there's a couple of things there. Number one, you're selecting the wrong kind of image, so it's not portraying the work that you want. You might be picking a shot inadvertently of somebody, you know, that's building something in the States, for example, you know, and very quickly people are, you know, looking at it thinking that, you know, that's a bit odd. Another mistake is, I think people go, as you said, you know, they pick something that it looks very buildingy and construction-y, but it's, you know, it's got cranes on it, you know, and that's not the kind of work, you know. So a visitor's going to be thinking, no, that's not the kind of person that I'm looking for. But then there's the danger and the catch-22, as you were saying, Sally, about choosing the images. So you'll say, for example, you want to go up market into more aspirational, larger extensions. Now, obviously, you're going to be choosing from some stock shots there, but being very careful that your competitors are not also using those same stock shots. And as soon as you have the right shots from the right projects, you replace those with your before, during, and after images of real projects. You know, you need reality on your site of something they can relate to. So don't let your website fester with the wrong. Sorry.
Absolutely. And the trick there, it's not a trick. This is the, you know, if we're talking about reality, is that, you know, that these cowboys are going to be using any photos that they can get hold of. So if you're now showing actual projects that you've worked on, the before, during, and after, you need to make sure that they can absolutely 100% tell that was a job that you worked on. So if we go back to the, you know, the logo, the, you know, the icon that we've been talking about before, you know, it could be someone on site wearing a polo shirt with your logo on it. It could be signage around the place. There could be a van in the background, but you have to, I mean, it seems crazy that you've got to go to these lengths, but this is the game you're in, you know, and as Simon has already been, you know, explaining, this is what you're up against, and you want to be the genuine article, the real deal, professional, transparent, you know, and you know, in all our advice we give builders, it is, you know, to show your, you know, your honest approach to the whole project. So as soon as you are able to put these real projects on, you know, do so. And it might be a matter of going back to past customers, you know, if you're sort of entering this for the first time, you know, if you've had a successful relationship with someone, ask them if, you know, they can allow you to take some photos. And then a quick one about allowing to take photos. That's a biggie. Always seek permission. Never take a photo that hasn't been agreed with the customer. And
get that on email as well. Get that written. That
yes,
yeah.
That's a good point. I mean, Simon's shared some horror stories on that subject when people take photos, without permission. But at the same time, ask them for an endorsement. I mean, you can't beat a recommendation from the right kind of person, the kind of work that you're going after. Ask for endorsements, whether they drop that in an email or a text. That's going to make a big difference.
What you can do, actually, you can just send them a link to click on and do a Google review on you. And your high point is when you finish your job and they're delighted, they'll be happy to do that. That's why they send the survey forms back to me. We thought we might have a problem getting these back on completed jobs, but they're delighted. If you've done a good job, they're very quick to endorse you and to fill out the survey forms on you. And they're also equally quick if they had a bad experience. So, it works both ways. Yes. But if you've done a good job, just send them a link. That's the best thing. And again, it adds to your professional, doesn't it? It shows that you take your after-sales service seriously as well.
Yeah, and on and Facebook as well, you can make recommendations on your Facebook page. But just one more thing from a visual point of view, and this is something I guess going forward if you've never done it before, but even sort of time-lapse videos of the project underway. It's quite exciting. It's visual, a little bit different. Shows that you're sort of you get technology, that you're creative. So it's all those things that just you need to look at to make yourself stand out. And just one thing, a lot of what we're talking about here is potentially aspirational if you're not really already in that marketplace. If you invest in CAD software, and I could give a plug, and I will, to HB Excel and their Plans Express software. Simple to use CAD software, which gives you an opportunity to play with some designs, the kind of projects that you want to be involved in, turning them into 3D models. I mean, that is hugely attractive to a homeowner. Would look fantastic on your website and would look great on your Facebook page. And if you keep doing these things, because one thing I should add is that if people are doing a Google search on builders in your area, if you can keep adding information to your website, and this is where it's all a bit complicated, and I know I don't understand it all, but if you are active on your website, Google, for instance, will like that, and you will start moving up the ranking. You want to be further up the page, so you'll be noticed quicker. So activity on your website is important. And on that, with a Facebook page, you have to keep that going. That's an absolute must. If someone goes onto your Facebook page and your last post was 2019, they're going to assume you've gone out of business, even though you're very busy. So that is something to bear in mind. And whether it's on your website or on your Facebook page, you can demonstrate your professionalism by, sharing articles on the latest legislation about being COVID-19 secure, observations on new building materials, or what you like. Tell them about the software that you're using. All of that. Changes in planning laws. I mean, there's so much happening at the moment. I mean, it's an exciting time in that respect, from getting content on your Facebook page, writing the article or asking someone else, a guest blog on your website, getting information out there, all spelt correctly. So that, you give some reassurance to your target market that, that you mean business and you know what you're doing. All of that will make such a difference to your profile. And then there's so much more. Going back to Facebook, joining groups on Facebook, local ones. You can pick up some great recommendations there, getting involved in conversations and so on. Even the local parish magazine, or one of these postcode magazines, placing an ad in there can really bear fruit, and decent projects at that. That's the
It's
difference.
ironic because it sounds quite old-fashioned, doesn't it, to be parish in the parish magazine? It's almost like gone full circle. On the one hand, you're very techy with your Facebook and your Twitter posts and things like that, perhaps getting a LinkedIn profile. But on the other hand, something very traditional and kind of homely almost, like a quality small ad in your parish magazine.
But your older customer, say, not sort of stereotyping, likes to look through that publication and trusts it.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly do. I'm not going to put myself in the elderly category, but I certainly look at it for. I think I had a roofer, come through and do some work for me, because I'm looking for somebody that I can trust locally, and I guess because they're local, if other people will know whether they've done a good job or not. But I mean, that goes full circle, I know, with Simon and kind of recommendations and so on. And it is quite hard to get, get sucked back into that.
I like parish magazines. I think firstly they're cheap, and secondly, people are looking for somebody local, and they think that you're unlikely to mess up on their job because all the neighbours will know about it. Not as if you're working 100 miles away. So builders tend to do a good job for the people in their locality as well. So it's a virtuous circle. I like parish magazines. I recommend my builders to use them a lot.
Yeah. I mean, just very, very quickly, just finishing up actually on you're saying about social media, Joe, and we've said about Facebook, and obviously that is an obvious go-to place. Instagram is another one, and that's owned by Facebook, and so you can equally feature there. That's obviously a very visual place, so that's perfect for showing your designs, your 3D models, the plans. And projects. There's LinkedIn. That's very much a sort of a professional network that will certainly, enter you into a slightly different market, but it's a good networking opportunity. So that's all to consider. And further down the line, and perhaps that is further down the line, once you've established yourself, of course, you can advertise on Facebook. You can use AdWords on Google. That's almost another session in itself, but again can bear fruit.
So on that, very briefly, HPXL work with their network partners Video Tile, who do a series of online video courses on the likes of Facebook and AdWords and Twitter and so on. And so we'll pop the link up online. They're paid for courses, but they're really very cost effective, and you can just learn about how they work and decide whether they're for you. But I mean, things like Facebook advertising is it's very cheap, relatively speaking. I mean, I probably shouldn't say this, but it's a lot cheaper than AdWords, and it can be quite a lot more targeted. Okay, so there's loads of tips there, and Sally, we're going to link off to one of your guest articles for us where you summarise a lot of this, your kind of section there. So we'll point people at that later. So the builder's done all of this stuff. He's got in front of the right clients. He's managed to get a call to go in and see them using COVID secure processes, of course, and they're going to to go visit. Perhaps they're going to let's imagine an example here. They've got a kind of an aspirational big extension that they're going into. Maybe it's 150, 200k extension, and they've been invited to tender for. We focused a lot on winning on merit, but as we've said, maybe our builders transitioning to this kind of project, and we've said as well, Simon, little steps as well, so not going from just doing your carpentry to suddenly doing a 200k extension, but we're on our journey. This is happening. They've still got some convincing to do that they're right for this kind of project, and maybe they're up against 5 or 6 other companies. So kind of perhaps recap a little bit, what can they do? What are the small things that they can be doing to kind of build confidence when they go in and see that client?
Okay. The first big problem that all the builders have got is the client doesn't give a proper spec for the job.
Right.
So often the quotes are never like for like. I see prices ranging 100% top to bottom very often. The client hasn't got a clue what the right money is for the job. And very often the architect, when they go around in the first place, first thing the client says is, before I pay to draw my plans up, what's it going to cost me?
Mm-hmm.
And the architect knows, if he tells them £200,000, they're not going to pay to draw the plans up. So he tells them 130,000. And unfortunately, there's always some nonce quoting at 130,000. So they think he's the right builder for the job. And when one of the good builders goes in at £200,000, they think he's trying to rip them off.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a massive problem. So my advice when people are quoting is to really look at the spec you get. You need to take out all the PCs from the quote. That's the first thing. And give the client a range of price on all those items. And often they're big ticket items, bifolds, flooring, sanitary ware, boilers, underfloor heating. If they don't specify all this make, model and quantity, you're taking a flyer as to what you're quoting for. And you can bet your life that the problem cowboy builder isn't quoting for the same quality or quantity of the stuff. If the guy doesn't give you an electrical spec, how many sockets are you quoting for? Are they brass? Are they plastic? Your package is brilliant that you can do a standard spec, which is what the customer does need and will have at the end of the day. But that's not what they're seeing from other builders. I see quotes where it's one light pendant centrally in the room, one double socket in the room, and then they're 150 quid extra per point. So they make that money up later once they've got their foot in the door.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, the good builder's lost it. So also we have to bear in mind all the time is not what you're doing, it's what the customer's seeing from everybody that they're getting round. And it's no good you putting yourself on a pedestal and being pious about it and quoting what you think they're going to need. You've got to quote like for like with the other quotes they're getting. So you're in the running and not being knocked out at an early stage. As I said before, they're looking to knock out their 6 or 7 builders down to a shortest of 2. So how you come across is crucial. Invariably, when they don't want to choose you, they tell you because you're too expensive. And I know over half the clients that tell our builders that are lying. They say it's non-confrontational. So the little things they can do, I've got a nice long list as well. Not the only one, Sally. So let me have a go through some of them. First thing, show confidence, sound professional. Don't be meek and mud about it. You know what you're doing. Let it come across in your conversation with people. A big bugbear from customers, be punctual. If you're going to tell them they're going to be at a certain time, be there at a certain time. If you're delayed in traffic, call them when you're en route and tell them, unfortunately, you're going to be 10 minutes late. They hate sitting around wondering whether you're going to be there or not. The way you dress is important. I don't think you need to go suited and booted on a residential job, generally speaking, but you certainly want to be in smart casual clothes. You don't want to be in your site clothes with muddy boots. You want to be a good listener, actually, which is a big fault of a lot of builders. Take copious notes, pay attention to what they're saying to you. Often the clients tell me, well, I really liked your guy, but he quoted a load of stuff I didn't ask for, and he didn't quote me everything I did ask for, which is absolutely pointless, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Look at the plans really carefully. Often there are omissions or errors that the architect hasn't tweaked because he's not a proper builder himself, or other builders have missed. I had one guy, won a major job actually, about 600,000. The customer was showing him around the night and he said, look, this is where my extension's coming to and I want you to start my patio. And the builder said, I'm afraid not. He said, your extension actually is 1.5 meters nearer to your house, not here at all. He was the only builder that pointed out that error on the plan. So he got that job.
Yeah.
He was substantially more expensive than other quotes.
Yeah.
It might, you consider other ways of arriving at the same solution from your building expertise that could save them money or give them a better outcome, like changing the outside to give them easier access or more living space. One that you'll be pleased to hear about, produce a professional looking quote and get it back to them quickly. Yeah. 2 really good reasons for using HPXL. Also, make sure there's no spelling errors in your quote or in your covering letter. I'm amazed. I mean, there are a lot of non-English builders out there, and the clients, I mean, they're good builders often, but if they can't string a sentence together, the client, well, did he really understand my instructions on the job? And is the quote covering what I really want him to do? So it's really important. It's a spell check. It's really easy to do. The other thing you want to do is talk through, if you get the job, how you'll be working on that site, where you're going to store the materials. Are they having a portal? Where's the portal going to go? What access they need to the property? how you're going to keep it tidy and safe. Talk through the building regs processes, talk about party wall agreements when you first see them, if they're going to need one on the site. Show that you're thinking ahead for them. And again, some of the points that Sally said, show that you take your responsibilities seriously. Discuss your health and safety procedures, your COVID precautions. Tell them that you're going to put a contract in place for everything that you're going to do. Tell them that you're going to give a proper payment plan for the job. You don't give that to them at the early stages, but you will be giving it to them before they sign. Also, when you are looking to do a job for somebody, give them a notice of cancellation. It's a legal requirement. Give them 14 days to change their mind. A lot of builders don't do that, and actually a lot of cowboy customers will jump on that so they can duck out of not paying you later. So all these things, if you do all these sorts of things, the customer will feel much more confident that you're professional, you know what you're talking about, and they're prepared to entrust their life savings with you to invest in the project. It's a major, major decision. It's probably the second biggest spend they're ever having doing all this work. Their starting point when they get the builders around is you're all a bunch of cowboys and they're going to be ripped off, and they're looking for a way to minimise that problem. If you can prove you're that guy, they will beat a path to your door and they will pay your premium, they will use your payment plan, they will use your contract even if it's in your, not in theirs. So those are the major things I think they need to do.
Can I just come in very quickly? I mean, that was really well put, and would undoubtedly set you apart from your competitors. What I've been talking about is how to get your foot in the door, as Joe described it. But you could muck it up ever so quickly, once you have the opportunity. So this is, excellent in terms of how to, win them over when you've got such tight competition. Simon mentioned about health and safety. I had wanted to say a little bit more on that with your website and the Facebook. That obviously we're in strange times at the moment, and this wouldn't necessarily be such a requirement. But obviously, showing your health and safety, demonstrating your health and safety procedures has never been more important. So that is something that shouldn't be overlooked. I mean, when I talk to people, when I talk to builders, they say, well, of course I do that. Of course I do this. Of course I do. They know that they do, but those homeowners don't. They're not au fait with your health and safety procedures. The whole COVID-19 secure, for instance, you should have a page devoted to that on your website, or an article, or, feature it, have it pinned on your Facebook, for instance, saying, we go through all the necessary steps. We do all the risk assessments. We're proud to show our COVID-19 secure notice on every project that we work on. We're mindful of the homeowners, the public, neighbours, and so on. All of that right now, that could make such a difference to winning or losing a project when people are that bit more nervous at the moment. So that was something I just wanted to go back.
All of these steps that we've just been talking about, whether it's drafting a contract or going through a COVID risk assessment and having the COVID notice, the COVID secure notice, that is the government notice. It takes a bit of time to do it, and therefore a bit of expense. And the cowboy builders are not going to go through that pain barrier to do that. They're just not going to. And as Simon has said, they don't necessarily need to if they're not wanting a recommendation from this from this current client that they're currently fleecing. But if you do spend a little bit of time getting those things set up, spend a weekend or two doing some of these things, I think that they build up to a really good picture of your firm.
It's all building.
Another important one at the moment is liability insurance. Yes. A lot of people stopped their monthly debits when COVID hit and the lockdown started, and they haven't restarted them. And a lot of the cowboy builders never had it in the first place. So really important. I always tell the customers, check the certificate to show that it's valid, but also phone the insurance company to make sure it's still on risk. They haven't stopped the payments after getting the certificate, which is another trick that the cheap builders do. So all these things is just layer upon layer upon layer of confidence that you're building with the client. And it's taking it all away from the other builders. Everything you're doing that they're not doing, it's a plus for you, it's a negative for them. So they can see what they're paying for. They can see why they should use you and pay premium. If you say and do the same things as the cheap guy, where you're half as much again in price, they're obviously not going to pay the difference, are they? You've got to give them reasons to choose your difference. And these are all the things you can do that are relatively easy, actually. a lot of builders take it for granted because they're working recommend to recommend. They win you a reasonable portion of the jobs, and they don't feel it necessary. What they're not looking at is it's all these good customers they have been talking to in the past that they haven't won. They could have moved their businesses up market in the past, but they've lost the opportunity because they're not doing all these sorts of things routinely.
Yeah.
So most builders, they don't need to make hugely dramatic changes. Actually, they're talking to these customers already, but they're losing out.
Yes.
All right, so
when they're quoting, we're saying so say they're tendering with their quote and their nice covering letter that has now been spell checked. We're saying a copy of things like their public liability insurance, a copy of their COVID secure notice and their company health and safety policy. Those kind of things as a package, emailed over promptly as a very starting point is going to get you.
And Joe, a build program, say, just giving, telling them this is how, this isn't yours, but this is how we operate. It's all carefully scheduled.
Yeah.
Nothing's left to chance. It's just giving them that confidence, isn't it?
Yes.
I think you have to also understand is what is the aim here when you're actually quoting the customers. Your aim is never to win the job. Nobody's going to email you straight back and say, brilliant, when can you start? Your aim here is only to get to the shortlist where you talk turkey. So everything about you has got absolutely right at the first point of contact, because otherwise you don't get to the second point of contact where it really matters. You're blown out for the most stupid of reasons. Right? These guys you're selling against, they've really got a point of sale. You've got to go the extra mile. All these little things that you take for granted, you've got to do them routinely. Don't take anything granted. Pack in everything you can possibly think of and show every bit of your expertise at the beginning so you get to the shortlist. They will want you to go further with them in the discussion about the job. They realise you're the right person.
So there's a whole, as we said before, mindset, and 110% is required during this transition period, and then hopefully they should have a slightly easier kind of working life balance off the back of this.
No gain.
Very rarely am I talking to people that have got no inquiry coming in. Most of them got huge amounts of inquiries in. They're winning bugger all. I spoke to one this morning, actually. He hasn't won a job for 5 months. He's converting routinely less than 1 in 10. Sometimes less than 1 in 20 that he's quoting on, because he's getting off the rating websites where everybody's trawling for a cheap price. So does he need another 10 inquiries a month and win 2 out of 20 as opposed to 1 out of 10? No, he doesn't. He needs to win 1 more out of 10 at a premium price, and he's far better off. He's got a bit of a life, to be honest with you. Half my builders are divorced, more than half actually, some several times, because they have no private life. It's a really hard job. They work 6 or 7 days a week on site. Then they go and see potential clients in the evening. Then they go back and work on their quotes. And I see that 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, they're emailing a copy of it for my records. I think, well, bloody hell, you've had no sleep all week. How accurate can that price possibly be? And in a few hours' time, you can work on a dangerous site with no sleep. It's absolutely mad.
Well, that kind of
the average age of my builders is going up year on year.
Yes.
I've got people in the 60s working on the tools in all weathers. It's no life really. And they're there now because they never made the transfers that we're talking about that they should be doing now. It's not about feeling comfortable about where you are. You've got to look about where you need to be with your pension and coming off the tools, paying somebody to do what you're doing on the side, having an office, having a paid office staff. When you're doing all that, you're taking a regular wage, you've got money in the bank, you've got a pension, then you're running a proper building business, aren't you? Up until then, really, you're working for a wage, and you're working a lot harder for the wage than you would do if you just work for somebody else. In a lot of cases, you're always the last person to be paid off for all your subbies and your suppliers.
So I guess
a lot of these guys work across them properly. Some they make money on, and some they don't.
So Simon, how can people? So people can reach out to you. We'll give them the contact details at the end of the session, so they can book a complimentary hour kind of mentoring session with you to kind of get their heads in the right place. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk through how they're working now. We'll look at how the business. Obviously, I've spoken to a lot of businesses. I know from sole traders to PLCs, and often we can help them avoid the costly mistakes that other builders made to get where they are now. We'll give them an hour's worth of mentoring, talking through how they're working. If need be, we'll give them a free survey on 6 of their past customers, just so I can get some feedback from the clients as to whether they use them or not. And if the builder tells me he's one of the most expensive builders in the area, and 5 out of 6 of the surveys come back saying they use them because he was cheap, that's a good chance for a rethink of the business. And it's not unusual, I've got to tell you. So I'm more than happy to do that. I really enjoy the mentoring side of the business, so more than happy to do that. People have taken the time to listen to us, and more than happy to do that for them. If they want to come on board with us, Well, then we use all those surveys to do a rating on the business. They can put that with their point of sale material on their website. And that's truly independent. It's not being spammed, because we're really careful with our rating certificates. They're far more detailed than they'll get off any of these websites. We work with them on every inquiry they get. We follow them through. We do credit checks for the customers on their competitors. We give the customers help and advice on doing due diligence and making sure, ensuring that the quotes are like for like. We'll find out why they're winning jobs, why they're not winning jobs, what the customers liked about them, what they didn't like about them, who their competitors were, what the other prices were on the job. We can give them leads for work properly, be qualified leads for people that have already paid to have their planning drawn up and lodged a planning application. We then pre-vet all those, and we pass on as quite a small proportion for the builders to quote on, and we track those through and help them win the jobs. So we give a comprehensive service that nobody does, and I'm more than happy to start them on that journey. There's no obligation if they don't want to do any further business with us. We're not pushing. We want good professional builders on our books that are aspirational and looking to move their business up market. They can't do what we do individually, otherwise they'd be doing it now. And we can't do the building work, but together we can work together so we can all earn a bit of money and progress our businesses.
Yeah. Well, I think we all get so involved in our own day-to-day, the treadmill of life and business, and it's that whole expression of wood from the trees. It's sometimes hard to see what is kind of common sense right in front of us. So good recommendation there to speak to Simon. His details will come up at the end of today's session. As I said earlier, Sally's article, hints and tips on everything she was talking about promotion, and some useful links to other services and tools to help you on your journey as well. So that's a good shout there to see that.
Yeah, and I was going to say, keep going back to the HPXL website, because we keep putting
I've lost you, Joe.
Articles that might help in you in the future. So worth keep going back to it.
Okay, great. And I guess the other thing, just shameless plug as we wrap up, is obviously a lot of the HPXL software range will make your life easier in terms of running your building company. So whether that's estimating and quoting, our Estimator Express software and our Takeoff kit will help you estimate detailed professional business winning looking quotations. And if your client doesn't have drawings, or you want to start to offer a design and build service, you can use the Plans Express software, which plugs into the estimating software, so you can design the project and estimate it almost instantaneously. So you can offer working drawings, the 3D models, the visuals, the photorealistic visuals, to impress clients with the prospective project. And of course, health and safety. What a headache that is for building companies. A necessary evil, obviously, because construction is still one of the highest kind of industries in terms of fatalities, unfortunately, despite the good work that's been done in the industry. So you've still got to pay attention to that. So preparing your health and safety paperwork with Health and Safety Expert, our software, and importantly, getting your COVID-19 risk assessment in place, your health and safety policy in place, as we've been talking about, and getting your COVID secure certificate, your notice, having done all of those things to promote on your website and what have you. And finally, Contracts Expert, to get your stage payments nailed, your starting the work now form if your client wants you to start quickly, changes of the work, and obviously the building contract itself, getting all of that nailed. So they're all good at tendering, as well as when the work starts, getting things all tidy. So that's been a real whistle-stop tour of the software side of things, and so we'll put you the website link there, and if you'd like to have a look at any of the software tools, then our non-techie team of demonstrators can show you what it can do and how it can help your business. So I think we've been talking for over an hour, so people are getting a lot for their power hour. I think we might have been going for more like an hour and 15, hour and 20. So unless you guys have got anything more to add,
I think that's it.
Are we about there? Is there anything you want to say, Simon?
I think we covered most things.
Yeah.
If anybody's got a specific question, I'm happy to have a chat to them about them.
Great. So we'll put all the phone numbers up at the end of today, so you can get hold of Simon and all the resources that we've been talking about. So Simon, thank you so much for all of your observations as always, and he's a great guy to have a chat with, just to get a feel for where your business could head and if he can help you. And Sally, thank you as well for all of your insight and your useful article that's going to be available shortly. So thank you. I will say goodbye, and we'll speak no doubt again very soon. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll sign off.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Cheers everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.